Chaku pointed out a line item, but in my mind that doesn't match. There's different names, doesn't make sense that's the audit. So you guys have requirements to conduct audits. From my view as a member of the public, I don't see that those audits have been conducted.
Okay, and then we have Duluth with no topic listed.
Right. Yeah, there's no requirement to list the topic when the public is going to comment.
I was just letting them know.
Thank you. Yeah, wanted to echo some of the comments that Dave made, and specifically to the NPA audit. I find it ironic that the CDE, who has not done, it says here in the report, they have not audited in the past, although it was a requirement. And I think the same applies here. At the Superintendent's Council meeting regarding the CalPromise contract, there were several issues. First of all, Susan went to the Superintendent's Council meeting, I believe it was in September, and made a report. The agenda item was for approving the attached board resolution. There was no board resolution attached. And delegating to Susan all authority to enter into this contract, which is a $1.2 million contract. There was no board resolution attached, and there was no board resolution attached to your committee. Yet she went to the Superintendent's Council meeting and said that your committee had approved it and had recommended it, all right? Thankfully, the superintendents decided to table that item because apparently there was no resolution attached to their agenda either, because the public definitely didn't have it on their agenda. And that's a Brown Act violation. The public is supposed to have access to all the materials that the governing body is having access to. So thankfully they tabled it and they brought it back for a special meeting. And lo and behold, there was a certification page stating that the governing body had quote unquote read the contract. The contract wasn't even presented. So I think, you need to catch these things, because that's what you're here to do, before they go on to your bosses at the Superintendent's Council meeting and have a member of the public bring it up. There's a couple of problems with the agenda today. One agenda says 8, one agenda says 8:30. These are some basic issues. Regarding the CalPromise contract, out of a $1.2 million contract, it's bloated for administration for the SELVA. $122,000 in salary for various administrators. You know what the kids are getting? They're getting $4,500 a year in tutoring. They're getting $3,000 a year in notebooks and pens, and one computer for 131 kids, and the computer's $1,000. This is why there's a movement to get rid of the bloated bureaucracy of the SELVA. And our group has been arguing that to legislators for years, because it is a waste of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Marcella Cox.
Es algo muy breve. Buenos días. Mi primer lenguaje es el español. No tengo el dominio del inglés. Es por eso que hablo el español. No tenemos traducción en esta reunión y yo la estaba necesitando para poder entender de qué es de lo que se está hablando.
I'd like to say she's saying that Spanish is her first language and that we don't have a translator in this meeting.
Cuando yo abrí la página era un horario diferente al que se está llevando hoy a cabo. Yo vengo de retirado. No indicaba un horario y la reunión empezó en otro horario muy diferente al que estaba indicando cuando yo abrí la página.
She's saying that there was nothing in the schedule that said that the meeting time had changed and there was no notification.
Y creo que debería de haber más consideración y respeto para nosotros los padres en los tiempos de las reuniones.
She's asking for more respect in the parents for the time of the meeting.
Gracias.
Martina Ortega.
Hi, Martina Rango Ortega. Susan, on C2, you needed to include something to do with Alta Loma. I couldn't really hear you because I can't hear back there. And I know it was approved to amend the agenda, but can the public at least have some documentation on that? I wanted to talk about Cal Promise and, piggyback on what Rita said. I'm requesting more information on that Cal Promise. It seems that the funds are going to administrative costs instead of students. Good transitional plans are needed for students to be successful in either vocational training or readiness to college. And then I want to talk about last week there was a CAC presentation. It was cut short by an hour, and that video clip is in YouTube. And it was cut short by an hour, although the flyer said it would end at 7:30. We, the parents, we make time to participate and to learn from these presentations. The parents that attended this presentation stayed and were asking me questions, which I was gladly able to share some of my advocacy strategies with the parents. And as a parent, taxpayer, I take time away from my family to attend these CAC presentations. I expect that if parents still have questions, that the presenter, speaker, continue to answer the questions from the public, which they did not do. Also, don't forget that there is a proposition for English learners up for vote tomorrow. Weston SELPA and the school districts will need to align themselves with the state policies if it passes. And I understand that you're going to have an ADR meeting training. I'm requesting that parents be allowed to attend this training meeting because as parents, we're taxpayers, and we also need to understand that alternative dispute resolution processes. Thank you.
Okay, we are on to C1, local plan revision for reading. And in your packet, okay, so we do have public comment by Rita Lee on this, so I'll stop and let her make her comment. Rita?
Thank you. Couple of things on the local plan revision. As related to the Ontario Montclair School District debacle, which they were essentially kicked out of the SELPA just because they asked for questions, despite the fact that the state recommended to Susan that they not be kicked out just because they had questions and they couldn't approve the plan. Because this organization is based on a rubber stamp model that nobody's going to be watching at the policy level and that the elected officials are just going to rubber stamp whatever the bureaucrats put forth. I find it very disturbing, unprofessional for an administrator like Susan to take those steps to bully one of the districts. I mean, we have definitely seen bullying to the community and the parents because that's the attitude we get from the SELPA. But to actually bully one of the member districts they were supposed to be serving, that was very disturbing. And now, at this late stage in the game, now they're amending the policy. They had no procedure, no specific procedure for kicking out OMSD, and yet they did it anyways because Susan and this agency, under her leadership, basically operate above the law. They're operating in a manner that is not transparent to the public and is not accountable to the public. They want to dictate to the community. They don't want to be accountable to the community. The other comment I have is on the literacy policy. What good is that policy? It's just words on a page. It is not going to yield fruitful results, all right? We all know in the audience the programs that work for literacy, for special education children. We all know Linamud Bell works. But if you want Linamud Bell, you need to go to due process. because you're never gonna get it at an IEP meeting, or extremely rare that a parent gets that service at an IEP meeting. So we are pushed into litigation just to get a basic program. Train your staff. Spend the money on training, on actually getting the results. This is all, words on a page, written by bureaucrats to justify their high-paying salaries. But really, it's not going to benefit the kids, because we all know what works. And that's not being implemented. Read 180 doesn't work. It doesn't. Not for our special ed population. So go ahead and keep, doing what you're doing, but then you're going to get, eventually it's going to catch up to you, and you're going to get proposals like CELPA elimination. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. So in your packet, you have two documents. You have one that outlines your changes only, but I would like to walk you through the plan itself so that we can review them, because this will be coming to the superintendent soon for approval. So let's go to well, I'd like to give a little background. We currently are under another interim plan because we made some revisions last year and sent it to the CDE, and the CDE has been very understanding and accommodating as we have continued to try to work things out with OMSD. In light of the fact that OMSD took a vote last February to pursue becoming their own SELPA, then we were put in a position where we had to write a 9-district plan. So this now is different than the others in that it reflects a 9-district instead of a 10-district plan. So you will see that throughout the plan, wherever Ontario Montclair School District is included in our previous plan, it would now be struck out. However, I want to make it very clear that I know that Greg had anticipated going to the State Board of Education in November. The state has now delayed that till January. And so that puts all of us in kind of a unique situation too, because I'll be sharing later about our reorganization meetings that we've been having and the severe cuts that we're anticipating to the SELPA. With that going forward in January and us needing to make notification to staff about their positions, the timing is very difficult, as I'm sure it is for your district also. So many things are up in the air. This is all pending that then in January is actually approved. If it's not, I have asked the state, the authority of the State Board of Education, if they were not to approve it, could they then say that we are all back together and we would move forward through that? So there are a lot of things that remain up in the air. So we all have to be open to whatever, but we know at this point that OMSD has gone forward requesting a waiver from the state. So on page II, Ontario Montclair is stricken. And then on page III, I've said we need to change the page numbers when all is said and done so that they are appropriate. Page 9, there had been discussion, and again, I want to thank all of you and your staff members that participated and our CAC rep that participated in this whole process. The group had asked if we should have a vote for the county superintendent of schools, and at this point, that change is not going to occur. On page 10, where it says, under item number 4, you will see that during the annual budget plan process is stricken and by the superintendent's council is added in. On page 10 and 11, we have a paragraph that county council has recommended, and then the gray part in the middle, the group requested that we make one additional change, and that is the LEA will have the opportunity to bring forward its concerns to the superintendent's So this is talking about in the future, if there were to be a district that did not want to sign or their board chose not to sign the local plan, I would just like you to take a minute to read that paragraph that goes from 10 up to 11. And then on page 15, a lot of these changes are just to align with titles in the SELPA that are current. Program manager for due process has been changed to alternative services unit because about 2 years ago, we changed the name of that unit to alternative services because there are many services that come under that branch of our office. Then in the middle of the paragraph, you'll see that we've added alternative dispute resolution because that is part of what we do and what we believe very strongly in. And then that is in there one more time under item 6. Then if you go to page 16, we have added under program manager, staff, and curriculum development, you'll see the second to the last line, Cal Promise, is with a capital C and a small a. So we made that change. Then if you go to page 17, under vocational team assessment and transition planning, job placement has been changed to on-the-job training opportunities when appropriate. And then the next one, it was teacher on assignment, we changed it to teacher on special assignment, and that is consistent through that portion there. Fiscal consultant instead of fiscal analyst to capture the correct title there. And page 21. CAC to include alternates as the superintendents voted last April. Page 22, second paragraph, you will see there are a variety of changes. We really wanted to capture the people first language. Page 23 was just a little grammatical change that Beth caught. Change of placement, comma, and then the quotation mark. Pages 32 and 33, if you look at 32, that's the old version, and 33 is what Tim recommended for the annual budget. Page 35, again, Ontario Montclair School District is skipping. Page 36, the quorum now in each case becomes 5 instead of 6 because with 9, 5 is a quorum. And you will see that on pages 37, 38, and 38 twice. For each of the advisory committees and the superintendent's council, the quorum now becomes 5. On page 43, under participating unit, we added the sentence, approval of the local plan by the LEA governing board is a requirement for each participating unit. On page 45, item Q, we have added demands of dispute resolution and or due process to capture the ADR there. On page 50, we are acknowledging the current county superintendent, and also Ontario Montclair is stricken again. On pages 52 through 60, you will see wherever parent was, the committee recommended parent bargaining.